Well, South Africa assumed the annually rotating chair of the African Union earlier this month. It's the second term since serving as the organization's inaugural chair following its founding in 2002. South African President Cyril Ramaphosa took over the role from his Egyptian counterpart Abdel Fattah el-Sisi on the 8th of February at the AU's annual summit in Addis Ababa. The position adds to South Africa's already deep engagement in the multilateral organizations. It is currently in the middle of its third two-year term as a non-permanent member of the United Nations Security Council, and it is a member of both the G20 and the BRICS grouping, along with Brazil, Russia, India, and China. Now, the Human Sciences Research Council's Professor Cheryl Hendricks joins us now in studio to talk about a session they're hosting on strategies to ensure South Africa's chairship at the AU is successful. Professor Hendricks, thank you so much for making the time this morning. What is this event all about?
So it's an event we call Diplomatic Conversations. This will be our third diplomatic conversation. And it brings together people from the diplomatic missions, so your ambassadors, your political officers, your policymakers, to interact also with researchers and practitioners on key issues facing the continent, because within the HSRC, I head what is called the Africa Institute of South Africa.
So it's titled Build the Africa We Want, Strategies for South Africa's Successful Chair of the AU 2020. Why is it important for this session for South Africa to be successful?
So I think this is a momentous occasion for South Africa. As you mentioned in your introduction, we last held this chair in 2002. It's also a very busy year for South Africa because not only are we in all of those forums you mentioned, particularly the United Nations Security Council, but within the AU too, we're chairing the Climate Change Committee. We are in the lead also for the high level on Libya. So it's going to be a busy year for us. We need to be able to show leadership on the continent. I think that over the last few years, our leadership took a bit of a decline. I think that we are occupying this position not only having all of these different hats on, but also in a climate where we are facing challenges globally, challenges within Africa, challenges at the African Union, and challenges locally as well.
Yeah.
And if I may, some of those key challenges, I think, globally, is that there's an increasing disregard for multilateralism globally, that we are seeing a decline in the consolidation of our fabric of democracy itself. Even though the number of democracies have expanded, the actual quality of democracy is being reduced in a number of countries, I think. And you can just see this with the third termism, as we call it, taking place. We have to deal with populism, a rise in populism, a rise in what we're calling anti-foreigners. Yeah. This is global, it's not just here in South Africa. Within Africa, we're facing climate change, we're facing rapid urbanization, we're facing increases in violent extremism. We're looking at war fatality rates that we saw in the 1990s when the African Union was started.
That's quite a lot to go through.
It's a lot to go through.
What emphasis are you giving to the three priorities that President Cyril Ramaphosa identified? The fight against gender-based violence, climate change, and the 4IR space.
So he actually identified at the AU 7 priorities. Okay, and the first is the free trade agreement, the African Continental Free Trade Agreement. The second is inclusive economic growth. The third
those would
is
be your frameworks,
the gender development, etc. So 7 of them. I think we're focusing here on this particular conversation because of, one, the space in which we are in. South Africa has many diplomatic, the embassies, are located here, so it's a nice space to have it in. we can draw as South Africa on our think tanks, on our research organizations, on our universities. So this is a space in which we're creating that, so that South Africa can draw on the resources that are available. Egypt is there. Egypt just held the term, so it can give us also its lessons learned.
Let's look at some of your speakers. His Excellency Issa Sharif, the Egyptian ambassador to South Africa, and Ambassador Nkosi Mxolisi, the DDG for Global Governance and Continental Agenda at the Department of International Relations, Lisa Lowe Vodren, the senior researcher, research fellow at the University of Pretoria? I'm not sure about that. And Professor
Isika.
Christopher Isika, Professor of African Studies. Just as a collective, what kind of value will they bring to this conversation?
So what do we have on that particular platform? We have the representative of the previous chair of the AU. We have Turco coming in so they can give us their perspective. We have Lisa Lowe, who's followed events at the African Union, almost we can call her a practitioner and journalist. She's well versed on these issues. And we have an academic coming in as a respondent. So I think that they will set the tone for a very good discussion on this topic.
Why is this conversation important for South Africans?
Because we have to get it right this time. I think a lot hangs on our leadership. I think that we mustn't take on too much. We must be very focused. We must draw on our resources, and we have to make good on this particular term and not just hold the space. Actually begin to introduce new approaches, be innovative, be bold and innovative. And then how can we draw on the resources to do that?
Is there any public participation?
Yes, it's open.
Give us the details.
Of public participation? Of the event, sorry. So it's taking place at the Sheraton on the 3rd at 3 o'clock, from 3 to 5.
And the public is invited?
The public is invited to it.
Professor Cheryl Hendricks, thank you so much for making the time this Sunday.
Pleasure to be here.
You're watching The Agenda. Let's take a break.
It's the month of love, and we have our pulse on the hottest love trends of this season. We love travel so much, we know all the romantic getaways. Don't even get us started on those couple goals.
There you go.
We shake things up and get creative when it comes to expressing that 4-letter word. When it comes to those essential romantic spoils, we are the gift that keeps on giving. Wherever the beat takes us, we will be right there, tapping to the rhythm of love. So go on, share love with us this month of love on Trends Travel.
What was being considered, in our view, was the PDPs that...
No, Ms. Vuyeni. SAA no longer had to pay the PDPs. That is what was negotiated. If...
My lady...
No.
My lady, I've got to object.
Welcome back. Let's take a look at your sports news. Kaizer Chiefs returned to winning ways by beating their arch rivals Orlando Pirates 1-0 in the Soweto Derby at a packed FNB Stadium yesterday afternoon. The win extended their lead at the top of the Absa Premiership table to 7 points over second-placed Mamelodi Sundowns.
The match was the third between the two sides this season, with Chiefs having won their Telkom knockout match in penalties and the league encounter 3-2 last year. And as expected, Pirates, who had prior to that dominated encounters between the two sides, took the game to Chiefs. They had 2 scoring chances early on, with keeper Daniel Akpe equal to the task on both occasions. It was Chiefs who drew first blood. Pirates' style of building from the back backfired when right back Mthokozisi Dube was dispossessed. Striker Sami Nukovic passed to an unmarked Lebogang Manyama. The 29-year-old beat keeper Wayne Sandilands from the edge of the penalty box to put the Amakos in the lead.
Drop the right shoulder, makes it 1-0.
Pirates had a chance to equalize minutes before the break after Tembinkosi Lodge had whipped the ball into the box. However, Kabadino Mhango missed the target with only Akpei to beat. After going to the break leading 1-0, Chiefs didn't take their foot off the pedal. They came close to doubling their lead moments into the second half, with Sunderland's beating Nurkovic to a high ball. The match opened up with both teams attacking, and Chiefs had another chance to extend their lead. However, defender Ntsikelelo Nyauza thwarted the move with a well-timed tackle.
What a tackle coming through there to try and steal it.
With time running out, Pirates turned on the screws and should have equalized. But Akpei would have none of that, denying them on 3 occasions. It was just not Pirates' day, with the team twice coming close to equalizing, with Akpei pulling yet another save to deny Mhango a goal. The solitary goal won Chiefs the match, with coach